Hello everybody, welcome back. We are back in ERLC once again. This time we're not doing any role plays or anything. Today I'm going over 5 updates I want to see added in ERLC in 2026. But remember, if you are hyped for today's video, make sure to leave a like, and if you like my content, make sure to drop a sub. But without further ado, let's get straight into this. So the first update I would like to see added in ERLC in 2026 is, you can probably guess, because we're at the police station, revamped police and sheriff helicopters. So what I mean by that is, like, they have... Thank you! Thank you! Thank you very much! Really? Okay, so whilst we wait for DOT to come and rescue my Durango, first update I would like to see added to ERLC in 2026 is revamped law enforcement helicopters. What I mean by this is, like, the helicopter model is redesigned, get like a completely redesigned helicopter. And also, something that I don't really like at the moment with the helicopters is, say someone on the sheriff team deploys a helicopter, and you're on the police team and want to deploy a helicopter, you can't when the sheriff is up in the air. So another thing with the revamped helicopter idea is that if a sheriff helicopter is up, maybe you could, well, let me expand on what I just said. So when that sheriff helicopter is then gone, either has been shot down or has returned to base, you can't get another one up in the air for I think it's like 5 minutes or something like that. And that works fine if you're on the same team as the team that sent the helicopter up, like for example sheriffs. But then, why does that apply to police? They are two completely different helicopters. So what I'm suggesting is that if like one helicopter on the other team has just come down, you can then immediately send up a helicopter on the other law enforcement team, but it has to be a different player. You can't just, hop on the sheriff team, send a helicopter, once it is finished, hop onto police and then set up another one. No, that doesn't work. So it would have to be someone completely different sending up a helicopter on the other team, is what I'm trying to get at. So basically, if someone else on the other team sends up a helicopter, then you can send one up after that one's finished, if you're on a different team. Okay, so the next update I would like to see actually is on the fire team. I know we recently got a fire update, but I want to see this added. And it's not just the fire team, it's multiple different vehicles. So if we get the medical bus up, you can see that it has an interior, yes? But look what happened if I go in first person. Nothing. Unlike other vehicles that have interiors, your player model doesn't do the actions. So say if I get up the red line, you can see it's got like a fully modelled interior and your hands do the thing. So I want to see that, but with all of the other vehicles that currently don't have that. Another example is, if I can just head on over there, we'll get my Durango. But we're going to head over to the taxi rank. We're going to head over to Valley Transit, because there's a couple vehicles on that team, that job, that have an interior, but they don't have the actions. For example, the shuttle bus. Look, it has a fully modelled interior basically, but then none of that hand action. And it's the same for the Metro Transit bus, although I can't show you, but it is the exact same with that. Okay, so next update is also on the civilian team. Now, what I would like to see in this update that I'm talking about is more cars to be added, like yet another couple cars to be added. So if we go down to one of my favourite cars, the Terrain Traveller, you can probably guess what type of car this is. If you don't know, well, this is a Range Rover Sport. Now, let me tell you something. If you don't know anything about Range Rover and Land Rover, they are actually the exact same brand. They are under JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, and Range Rover is just another version of Land Rovers. Land Rover started it with the Rover Series 1, which evolved into Series 2, then a Series 3, then into the Land Rover 90, the 110, and then into the Land Rover Defender 90 and the Land Rover Defender 110, which were just upgraded versions of the Land Rover 90 and the Land Rover 110. But what I'm getting at here is this is the only vehicle in the game that is produced or has been produced by JLR. And one of my favourite cars is, of course, the classic Land Rover 90 and 110. And I would really like to see the 90 and the 110 in the game. Now, not the modern ones. The modern ones I absolutely despise. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing them in the game because there are a couple cars in real life that I absolutely hate, but I really love in ERLC. For example, the Cybertruck. I hate it in real life because it just actually is really ugly. But in ERLC, the devs did a really good job with it. Yeah, the devs did a really good job with this. So, to be honest, I wouldn't really mind seeing the modern Defender in the game, but I would really love to see the classic Land Rovers in the game, the Defenders. And I've already come up with some good names for it, fictionalized names. The 90 would be the, get this, Land Explorer Fighter 75. And the 110 could be the Land Explorer Fighter 132. That could be the names of those cars. And then if they wanted to add the modern ones, they could just add M on the end of the names. They could just add M on the end. If they wanted to do the modern ones, but I would really love to see the classic Land Rover Defenders in the game. So yeah. So the fourth update I would like to see is, well, again, for the fire department, and that is adding fire department air support. You heard me right. So it could either be a fire plane or a fire helicopter. Now, we could see, it could be both if the devs wanted, but I would say it should be one or the other, not both. If they decide to add fire department air support, it would have to be either a helicopter or a plane. It can't be both. That just would not make sense. And you might be asking, Jag, where would the vehicles take off from? Because from because it would just make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would make a lot of sense for the air vehicles in the game and ones that could be added to actually have somewhere to take off from instead of just spawning in. And that ties perfectly into update number 5 I would like to see, and that is an airport. So if they decide to add a fire plane, they could do an airport, but if they wanted to add a fire helicopter, then it could be a heliport. Now, if you don't know what a heliport is, it's basically an airport purely for helicopters. So basically, it's like a giant strip of land with a bunch of helipads for the helicopters to take off from. Let me see if I can find one for you guys. So guys, these are a few pictures of heliports here. So basically, you can see that these are just a bunch of, they basically just consist of a bunch of helipads lined up in either like a bunch of squares or in like a giant run. That is what a heliport is. So yeah, if they wanted to add fire planes, they could add like an airport for it. Maybe not like a fully proper airport, but like a little air strip where they have like, I don't know, a parking space for it, an air traffic control tower, and then the runway. And a place for either the heliport or the airport could be over here. So you could have like the traffic control tower here, parking spaces. They could even add both. Like, they could have a heliport for it and the runway. So yeah. So let's just go over there. Okay, guys. So over here is what I'm talking about, where they could add like the airport or like the heliport. This giant strip of land. So to get here, they could add like a proper entrance to it, and then this entire thing could be a little airport or an airstrip. And you might be asking what plane it could be if they decide to add fire planes. So let's just have a look. So these could be some fire planes that they could add. They could add small ones, they could add medium ones. I wouldn't say large, but they could even have Canadaires, which are like seaplanes. So they could go over to like the river. But one that I'm interested in that they could add is definitely the DC-10. I would like to see the DC-10 fireplanes. I would like to see DC-10 fireplane. And if we go back to Roblox here, yeah, I don't think a DC-10 would be able to take off here, but I mean, it's a lot of space actually. Yeah, no, a DC-10 could work, or even a 747. So definitely like a large one could work. And then of course, I don't know if some police departments actually use planes. Police planes. Oh, they do. Wow. Yeah, so it could even add some police planes, like King Airs, or like this is an idea of a police helicopter. This is, I believe, an Airbus H135, but they could add like that, or they could even add maybe like this, or but police departments mainly use helicopters, but they sometimes use planes as well. But yeah, they could add a bunch of like airplanes and stuff. So they could add like police planes, fire planes, and then maybe a fire helicopter. Definitely revamp the police helicopters, the existing ones, definitely. But anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and hit the bell button to all notifications to be notified when my next video comes out. And I will see you guys all in the next one. As always, stay awesome. Goodbye.